Exploring the latest trends, topics, and things you need to know in travel. It's Can We Talk Travel with DestinationWhatever.com. We're talking about Bhutan today, and it's a really exciting destination that's located between India and China. We're going to be going to the Himalaya mountains today, and we're going to be way up there, super high with inspiration and clouds and Buddhism and all sorts of things. And my guest today, she's been to Bhutan. That's something we have in common. Hilary is here today from G Adventures. Hey, Hilary, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Dave.
Awesome. Well, look, let's just dive right into it. I would love to know, why did you go to Bhutan? What made you pick it?
I absolutely love destinations that are off the beaten path, and I knew that this was exactly where I wanted to go because a lot of people haven't heard of Bhutan, but it really does have so much to offer. So I really wanted to go and explore it myself firsthand.
Yeah, totally. I had went to Bhutan in 2018, and so it was getting more and more reported, meaning just well, Hillary Clinton had gone there. She was there for political visit, and then the royal couple had their honeymoon to Bhutan. And so, well, I had to go after all of those people. I had to finally get there myself. And it was meant to be when it was meant to be. I had went in October of 2018. Really beautiful time of year. What time of year did you visit?
I went in June, so kind of a little bit in the monsoon season, but we did have a lot of great sunny days.
Absolutely. And one of the reasons we've organized today's webinar or discussion, which is a little bit different, it's not just one of us talking and the other one listening. We both have things to contribute because we both did different trips to Bhutan. And so the destination is the same, but my trip focused a bit more on the cultural stuff, even though it was a level 4 demanding. It was the first time I did one of your level 4 trips, and it might be the last. But anyway, I'm really glad I did it. And you did something that's much more athletic. So if you're into culture, if you're into athleticism, whatever you're into today, there's lots of stuff here. So getting to Bhutan is interesting because the airport in Paro, there's only one international airport in Bhutan, and there's only a few places that you can get there from. I flew in from Bangkok. I was in Thailand, and then I flew over to Nepal. This was part of my round the world trip that I did in 2018. So I kind of went in one way and went out the other, but I think most travelers go in and out the same way. So how did you do it, Hillary?
Exactly that. I went in and out the same way. So I did from Bangkok. So I'm originally from Toronto. So I did my international airfare to Bangkok. I did an overnight in Bangkok and then caught my plane to Bhutan the next day. And then same thing coming back.
Excellent. Why did you do Bhutan? Because of course there's Nepal, there's India, there's a few ways. And was there any logic to it?
So two different reasons. A, the flights into Bhutan were cheaper from Bangkok. And B, I knew that G Adventures offered day tours in Bangkok. And because I had never been to Thailand before, I really wanted to kind of explore a bit of a different destination since I'm going all the way there. So it kind of worked out that I did a full day tour in Bangkok and then flew over to Bhutan the following day.
Yeah, just like that song, One Night in Bangkok. So I love it. And of course, I came in through Bangkok as well because I was coming in from that part of Asia. But I think for a lot of travelers, my point of view would be to go in through Bangkok because Thailand is also really easy for entry requirements. You can get a flight to Bangkok. And like you said, the day tours, or if you want to maybe do a resort afterwards, because things you won't find in Bhutan, it's not really known for resorts. There's a few wellness resorts, but there's no beaches. It is a landlocked country, so Thailand would really complement nicely with that. All right, cool. Well, Hillary, when you went to Bhutan and you started telling people you were going to Bhutan, what did people around you have to say? Did they have any idea where you were headed?
Some people were like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. I've always wanted to go. Some people who have been there before were like, we're so excited for you. Please eat all the chili cheese. I'll talk about food later on, don't worry. And then the majority of people actually were like, Bhutan, what is that? Where is that? And so I always have to like kind of pull up a map, show them where it is, be like, yeah, it's in the Himalayas. It's close to like Tibet, China. So really great.
I think that was the expectation or the reality for me with my friends. Like a lot of people had no idea, and so I would have to describe it. And the easiest way I would do it is I'd say, well, it's between India and China. And I think you mentioned Tibet, which it's also very near. And it's interesting because Bhutan has its own culture, but the influence comes from all of these places. And so I found it to be a really interesting melting pot. And I also found it really interesting to go from Thailand to Bhutan because both of these countries, and both are fabulous destinations, both are known for spiritualities, but the vibe is very different. Bangkok is very electric, and I'm go, go, go. And then I got to Bhutan, and I just found that it was much calmer and it was very sedate, and I was able to be more inward in my thoughts. And so I don't know, I found that there was a vibe there right off the plane. How about you?
Yeah, exactly that. Like Bangkok, so much is moving around. There's a lot of people, there's different transportations, there's tuk-tuks going everywhere. And then you get in Bhutan and it's like a whole sense of calmness. Like I know they're known for gross national happiness, but until you land there and you actually feel it for yourself, and that's exactly it, it's a feeling. So it's a little bit harder to describe if you ask me, but it was just very calming. There wasn't a crazy amount of people. Like it was great. Yeah.
Absolutely. This energy just comes over. And when I had left, I went to Kathmandu. Again, wonderful destination, but a very busy city, a very energetic city, and the pulse of Kathmandu. And I just remember getting off the plane in the airport and coming out and just seeing a lot of backpackers and horns and I was like, well, you're not in Kansas anymore. That bubble had burst for me. I was no longer in Bhutan. But the strangest thing for me getting out of Bhutan, and I was there for 10 days. Most people might not know this, but if you go to Bhutan, the tourism is very organized, and we'll talk about that. You have to be on a tour. Also, all your meals are included for you. So, all of the meals for us were served at the hotels, a lot of buffet style, and I never had to look at a menu for 10 days. So, when I got to Kathmandu and I was to a restaurant and they put a menu in front of me, I was like, what is this? But then I was like, oh, I have to start thinking again about food because for 10 days in Bhutan, I just didn't have to think. Everything, I was just so well taken care of. Anyway, I don't know if you had any experiences, what it was like for you when you left Bhutan and came back to the real world.
Yeah, I guess it was pretty much the same. Like, I loved that all the meals were included because of the tourism laws that they have in Bhutan. And I love not thinking about it, and the food was absolutely delicious. Again, I'll still talk more about it later, because if you know me or if you've seen other webinars with me and Dave, you'll know that I absolutely love food, especially when traveling. So it was kind of the same idea. I got home and I was like, oh, I want to go back now.
Yeah, it left me with that. Like, I feel really fulfilled. I did everything I could have wanted to do in Bhutan. So I guess I would go back because there was just something there I miss. And I wish I had a Bhutanese exchange student in high school I could just go over and visit frequently and have those connections. But before we get, I mean, we have some slides to show people, so you're not just going to hear us, of course, for the duration too. You got some pictures to show you. But I think this would be a good time to talk about the organized tourism. So you don't just get to Bhutan by accident. You just can't roll up to Bhutan and do it. You need to be booked to go to Bhutan. You need a visa. The tour operator will get that for you. My visa came a couple of days before departure, and I think that's quite common. So if you are a person who watches the mailbox and can get stressed out if your visa's not going to arrive, first and foremost, it will be into your inbox, but it's quite late. Hillary, what like was yours like that? Like mine was 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, mine was about 3 days before departure. I think I got it the day I was flying to Bangkok, and I'm like, thank goodness.
Absolutely. And I think I had just rolled into Bangkok and like looked and it was like ping, it was there. So it was great. And because when you are checking in for your flight to Bhutan, you do have to show your passport, but you have to show this visa. So if you are a foreigner, you're visiting Bhutan, again, it's very organized in that way. And Bhutan, sometimes people look at the destination in comparison to India and Nepal, places in the subcontinental region, and they say, oh, it's very expensive. I don't think Bhutan is very expensive. I think it's worth exactly what you pay for it, but you do have to pay a daily tourism fee. Hillary, is that something you can expand upon for us?
Yeah, exactly. So for the daily tourism fee, it's included in the Tours with G Adventures to Bhutan. So you don't really have to worry about that separately. But that is one of the big reasons why the Bhutan tours might be a little bit more expensive than, say, other Southeast Asia countries or China or anywhere else, or even India, right? Because
Yeah,
they are so strict on that. It is part of their law. So, the same idea, if you are booking a tour to Bhutan with G Adventures, if you want to book an extra night before or after the tour, you might see that it's a lot cheaper if you go on the hotel's website, but it doesn't include the daily tourism fee and it doesn't include a local guide, which are two things that are required by law in Bhutan. Whereas if you book it with G Adventures, yes, it is, you'll see it's more expensive. However, both of those things are included. So you don't have to worry about anything once you do get there.
absolutely. And if you are the type of person, I'm not a tour person. Well, if you want to go to Bhutan, you do need to change your tune. There are a few destinations I've experienced in the world, and Bhutan's one of them. And of course, doing it with G was just super duper easy. And of course, as a travel agent, I'm one of the few that have been there, and so I can help you with the personal experience. But you really don't have to prepare for a difficult trip. I mean, Hilary, you went and made it difficult because of the athletic stuff you did. But otherwise, you step off the plane and your guides meet you. They wear the traditional apparel. Again, the meals are taken care of, the transfers both ways. You don't even really need to spend money. Like the stress of handling money can be taken away from you for 10 days, which is interesting. So, how many places in the world can you go to where you don't need to have to think about money? So, yeah.
Non-existent.
Absolutely. Well, but on the topic of money, one thing I will say to people, if you are thinking about Bhutan and you think, oh, I'll get there in 5 years, I'll get there in 10 years, I'll kick it down the list. Please don't. I went to Bhutan in 2018, and at that time, the daily fees were that we were talking about these tourism fees. It was either 300 or 350 US. I can't remember what the daily fee was. And so if you're on a 10-day tour, this is going to quickly become around a $4,000, $3,500, $4,000 type of tour. And I don't know, Hillary, I think the rates are actually higher than that now when we look at average daily rates for Bhutan. Do you have any perspective from the tour operator's point of view?
I'm not sure what the daily rates are, but I do know that they do increase over time, of course, just
Yeah.
kind of like everything else in the world just going up with inflation. So it's no different for Bhutan.
It's inflation and it's also people want it. Bhutan will only let in 100,000 people per year, and that's all they want for tourism. They don't want tourism to overrun. They're very particular about that, and that's what keeps it so special. And so, if more people want it, they do up the daily rate. And if people wonder, well, what happens to the daily rate? Because people were asking on our tour, it does go to pay for the hotels and the food and everything they're including, but it also goes to the social services of Bhutan. So hospitals, schools, medicine, all of that is taken care of. Kids get full education. They have access to medical. Tourism does that in Bhutan because it's handled in a very specific way. Well, I'd like to get started with some slides. I got a few pictures from the trip I did, so I'll kick us off and I'll take us through my tour and show people what it looked like from my point of view. And then we'll come back and we'll have Hillary show us hers. So let me just get my screen connected and we'll go from there. Well, welcome to my presentation, Discover Bhutan. And in case you didn't know already, my name is Dave Wentworth and I am a travel agent, and my travel agency is found online. You can go to my website, destinationwhatever.com. I'm always working on that website to enrich it with travel information, travel deals, things that you need, and of course, things to connect with me. I am a Canadian travel agent and I love working with people from coast to coast. And here's a picture of me in Bhutan at probably one of the most iconic sites. This is the Tiger Nest Monastery, and I made it even more iconic with my clueless tights as well. So I don't know if the Buddhist monks had ever seen somebody like me come through. This was something we did at the beginning of the trip, and I think everybody wants to do this when they go to Bhutan. This was a day hike for us, and I just loved it. We did it right at the beginning. So the itinerary I did was with G Adventures. It no longer exists, so you can't find this exact itinerary. There is a similar itinerary at the National Geographic level, and there is a similar itinerary at the Classic Tour level. So maybe you have a preference which style you like. My tour was kind of like both of those things. Again, this was back in 2018. It was 10 days. It started and ended in Paro. We went for a trek up the Bumdrak trek. I'll show some pictures of that. That was the most physical thing I've ever done in my life, and I absolutely loved it. That earns this itinerary a level 4 on G's scale, so it is demanding. Not only was the trek a bit more demanding, but this is a high altitude destination. And so, of course, altitude can affect people. I liked this itinerary because we spent a couple nights per stop, so I didn't feel it was moving around too much. One thing, I had looked at Bhutan on the map and I thought, oh, it's quite small. This will be a tour where we're not spending a lot of time driving from place to place. But the quality of the roads is what it is, and a lot of switchbacks going through the mountains that don't let the small size of Bhutan mistake you. It can take some time to get from point A to point B and so on and so forth. We had one night of camping on ours, which was up in the mountains, and then we had one night in a rural guest house, which I really loved that. And of course, the remainder were in standard hotels. This is the Paro Airport. This is coming in from Bangkok. This airport is one where only a handful of pilots are certified to fly into because it has to weave in and out of the mountains to get into this runway. And in case you're wondering, well, what airlines fly you there? There's only two airlines, Bhutan Airlines and Druk Airlines. And so you'll have to book those separate from your international ticket, which is, of course, why Hilary and I were talking at the beginning. Well, how did you get there? Because that's part of the strategy when you're planning. Some imagery of me just kind of stepping off the plane on Bhutan Airways or Airlines, pardon me. And you can see my smile is half of my face because I'm just so excited to be there. And some of the first glimpses, this was driving from the airport to our starting hotel. Right away, you can see traditional architecture and the way buildings are designed. The roads are good. There's not a ton of traffic. The traffic is very orderly, which if you've traveled in other parts of Asia, you might find the traffic to be busy or not what you're used to. But in Bhutan, I found it to be really chillax. And a lot of clean air and mountain trees, fir trees around, which is really nice as well. It is an Asian destination, but it is not a tropical destination. I wanted to show this. This is some pictures of men wearing the go, which is the traditional outfit. And so when you are met by your tour guide and when you meet men tour guides in Bhutan, they are required to wear their traditional apparel. And that is part of Bhutan's commitment to keeping its culture alive and keeping it authentic when you're visiting. Of course, chilies, and Hilary's got more to talk about with chilies. We've got so many chilies today, and these chilies just hang from the windowsills, or sometimes they're on the rooftops, and you see them all over in Bhutan. Of course, you can eat them all over the place. My favorite was the traditional Bhutanese cheese, because I'm a cheese lover, with that chili oil all over it. Delicious. This was starting our walk up to the tiger's nest, and what I really loved about this was this mantra for me serves up Bhutan perfectly. That clean and beautiful environment is a feast to the soul. I believe that because Bhutan does it right in their tourism, it's low impact tourism, but super meaningful. The way that they preserve nature and the land around them and their culture, it was a feast for my soul. And so that was not just the mantra for that trek up the tiger's nest, but really the whole 10 days that I was in Bhutan. 100% agreed. As we're walking up, we would see prayer wheels. These are not there. These are not built to be inauthentic, that are there for your selfies. These are real prayer wheels that have existed for however long. People come along and spin them, but they have a real religious purpose. Everything in Bhutan is real deal. And I love that. And then as we get to the top of it, which was really cool about this was from our camp. And just over here, where my mouse is pointing, there's the runway for the airport. So if you think about my plane, it was weaving in and around these mountains to hit that little runway. So it's really cool to see that. But it was awesome. You can see the clear air, the blue skies. It's a Himalayan kingdom. It's just beautiful. Here I am. You can see a huge smile at my campsite. So behind us, these are the tents that were there at the monastery. So these are for the hikers. And in each one of those was a full bed. Actually, I think it might have even been a king size bed. It was very comfortable. And of course, all of our food was taken up there. All of that was included. So we were well fed and just well rested. I slept so well that night up in the Himalayas, and the prayer flags in the background. Oh gosh, I just wish I could be there right now. city of Thimphu is the capital, but it doesn't feel like a capital city. It's not super duper big. And we saw the National Assembly. And what's interesting about that is that Bhutan has a legislative and a secular government, so religion and administration in their government. Both things have equal balance and are very important. And of course, if you're this far into the presentation, I think you've realized that that's a big part of Bhutan is that balance of spirituality and progress. And just another picture of that from the nighttime, this the way it was lit up. And we went inside, and I can't remember if we weren't allowed to take pictures or if I was just busy just, taking it in and I didn't take pictures. But there were monks wearing their traditional orange robes and they were working on prayers. And I mean, this wasn't like any other house of government that I've ever seen in my life. Something else that I saw in Bhutan, lots of 420 for my 420 audience out there. Yes, I'm talking about marijuana. It just grew everywhere in Bhutan, all up and down the ditches. I've never seen that anywhere where I traveled. But again, no big deal in Bhutan. Other thing that is a big deal though in Bhutan is the big Buddha statue. I loved going here. This was something I had seen in the brochures that I couldn't wait to see. This thing is huge, and underneath of it is you can go inside of that. There are people praying, and you can read up about the Buddha, but just this huge gold Buddha, big, big Buddha. And also, they got big dongs in Bhutan. And of course, some people who know me that I have a third grade humor sometimes. And so, of course, I found this quite humorous, but it's to signify fertility in the culture. And that's why you'll find these a lot in front of homes or maybe painted on walls or inside of temples. And so, if you want to see all these dongs, you've got to book a trip over to Bhutan. And in addition to the dongs, there's zongs. That's a really good Scrabble word, people. Keep that in mind, zong. But a zong is a religious institution in a monastery, in other words, in Bhutan. And so that is something you can look forward to seeing. Take a peek at this mountain. This is the high mountains of Bhutan. This was driving up through the Himalayas. We got to this highest point. You can see almost 4,000 meters. My lips are chapped, but I was absolutely loving it. And of course, the people of Bhutan, not just the guides, but the everyday people, these children wearing their traditional clothing. I would just like to wrap up by simply saying that Bhutan is the kingdom of happiness. Look at her. She is pretty happy, and you will be too if you're over in Bhutan. So let's get high on Bhutan together. That's a picture from my flight out of there. Get to see Mount Everest on the way out of there. So, yeah, 10 days. It went by like that. And every day I was asleep by like 9 p.m. because my brain was just blown, and we were up every day just to do it all over again. I loved it. So, Hilary, let's hear about yours. Tell us all.
Well, I loved watching your presentation. Like, I've had a big smile on my face the entire time because I'm like, oh, it's bringing back such good memories for me.
The good vibrations.
Yeah, just one note. I know you put the whole marijuana growing everywhere. So in Bhutan, they actually call it pig food. They do not smoke it, of course, for their own religious reasons. They feed it to their pigs.
That's true, because I remember trying to talk to my guide about it because it was just when legalization was happening in our country. And I was like, you can put it in a teapot or anything. And they're like, give that to the pigs. So,
You're funny. So I'll go ahead and share my presentation. So I'll give you guys a little bit of an insight on how my experience was in Bhutan, because as Dave had mentioned, it is very different from his, just for the fact that I did an active tour, but I'll talk all about that in just a second, because I will just touch on quickly about who G Adventure G Adventures is a proud Canadian company. We've been around for 35 years now, and we really do focus on community tourism and supporting communities in all the destinations that we visit. So we're using local services everywhere we go to really be able to give back to the places that we are traveling to. We offer small group tours, so it is maximum 16 people on the majority of our itineraries. They're all guaranteed departures, so we only need one person for the tour to run. And it also allows you to dive deeper into the destination just because you spend less time traveling, less time with logistics, getting on and off a big bus. You're already there, you get to take it all in and explore. We also do have local guides that stay with you the entire time. So we call them CEOs or Chief Experience Officers, but they're really a great insight onto the destination, the country that you're visiting. They know it like the back of their hand. They lived there their entire lives. So they're really the best people to lead you through their beautiful countries. Even though we do offer guided tours, we always make sure that there's free time included in our itineraries. So it's still pretty flexible with your free time. The CEO will be able to give you options of what you can do. You can go off on your own for a little bit if you want. So that's kind of all of our itineraries, which is great. And then you also do have the freedom of solo travel. So 50% of G Adventures travelers are actually solo travelers. And out of that 50%, 60% are solo female travelers. So if that identifies to you, please don't be scared to come travel with G Adventures. Just reach out to Dave and he will definitely be able to give you more information and get you on your way. So let's go ahead and dive into Bhutan. So I know you've already heard from me saying that this was such a special destination. It was such a great place to visit. And even our local guide, our CEO, her name was Dorji, and she was absolutely fantastic. She was actually telling us the story that she was the first ever female guide in Bhutan. Ever. So it was a huge celebration for us as soon as we found out. So she even said that no other tour company would hire her because she was a woman, and G Adventures was actually the first people to say, yes, absolutely, we want you, Dorji. And so she's our first female CEO for Bhutan, but also the first female local guide in Bhutan itself. So just a really fun fact there. And I do have a little video to start us off. It's kind of a general Bhutan. It's one that I had created when I was there. So enjoy.
When you least expect it.
So if you saw in the video, there was a man directing traffic. That's what they call their local traffic light. So if you do go there, he's definitely a sight to see. And the tour that I had done is the Trans Bhutan Trail. So I actually did it last year in 2024. It is, apologies, 11 days. I have a typo there, but 11 days. It's in and out of Paro, and it is one of our active tours. So it is also listed a 4 out of 5, but it does have a lot of trekking through the Bhutan jungle on the Trans Bhutan Trail. So the Trans Bhutan Trail had actually been closed for quite some years, and we've decided to kind of let's go back on it. The government has really rehabilitated it, and it really allows us to visit those local communities that might not have received tourism beforehand. And it also does include a local living stay night where we actually stay in a local community with a local family. And that was definitely one of the highlights of my tour here. But the other one is I love being active. I love camping. I love hiking. So this was definitely up my alley. We did have some days of rain, but we had lots of days of sunshine, just depending where we were. So you can see we started in Western Bhutan. We went all the way to Eastern Bhutan, did a bunch of hiking there. We got to visit lots of temples, lots of dzongs, saw lots of dongs too, just for Dave. But it was really, really magical, honestly. And then we ended our tour with Tiger's Nest, where Dave had started his tour with Tiger's Nest. So for me, like I said, it is an active style tour. So I did include some pictures of myself just so you can kind of see the change of scenery that they have there. So the ferns in some places were literally taller than me. I'm 5 feet tall, so granted, not that tall, but those ferns were enormous. But you can kind of just see of what it looks like, what you're trekking through. Obviously, these are pictures of sunny days, so it's just important to bring your rain jacket if you are going in the monsoon season, just to kind of cover yourself for that. Very mountainous region as well. So you're not just walking on flat ground. It's not literally a walk in the park. It's a walk in the mountains, as you can say. And because it is a higher altitude, you'll likely be going at a slower pace. So for this itinerary, you could be doing anywhere between 12 kilometers per day or 20 to 20 kilometers per day.
And like how many
But
hours is that?
it would be between maybe 3 hours and 5 hours.
Okay.
Broken up with lunch as well. So usually you're hiking, you'll stop at a point and you have your porters who are of course included in the tour. They already have the big lunch tent set up for you for lunch. They have all the meals prepared. So you walk up, you grab a seat, you grab your food, and then you keep hiking after. So these are just great mountain passes and other sites that we did see. Beautiful bridges that, of course, are also lined with prayer flags. Prayer flags are something that's very important in the culture, and it does have a lot of different symbolisms. So you will see them everywhere, especially over on mountain passes. And you can even purchase some yourself to either bring home or to add to the beautiful landscape that's already there. And then, as David mentioned, you will see a lot of people wearing the local dress. So, your local guide will also be wearing one, which is really fun to kind of get into the culture. And then I did create another video specifically for the trekking part. So, I would say it actually wasn't too difficult. Yes, there was some uphills to do, but nothing that anyone of, I guess, fitness level would be able to do. So, here's a quick video on the hiking portion.
Cool.
Um, wake up with the sun. Does not feel like I got it, but nothing gets him. I sleep spread. It's been a long time. I'm living my best. Sometimes it's the truth. It's looking hard like people do. I'm learning how to eat the fruit. It's in season. Never thought I'd be a grown ass man.
So you'll see, like, we do walk in the mountains, we walk in the forest, but we also walk in those local villages and we really get to meet local people. There's lots of cows everywhere because you're walking through pastures. We even saw some wild hogs, which was really incredible because usually they kind of hide off into the forest. We did not see any elusive tigers, probably for the best if we're out hiking.
Mm.
But it was really cool. And if you are interested in this itinerary, the only thing to keep in mind for Bhutan, if you are trekking, is there are land leeches. So it's not like back at home where our leeches only live in water. These leeches live on plants. So long pants are very important. Long sleeve shirts very important. And the guide, the CEO, will likely be always carrying a bag of salt with them.
Interesting. I didn't even know those creatures existed. The land leech. Ooh.
Yeah, I'll tell you more stories later. Now, when it came to camping, because when we were, well, the tour that I did was called Camp the Trans Bhutan Trail. So when you're hiking two campsites as well. So I did want to kind of give you guys a little insight on what the campsites look like. As soon as you walk up, everything is already done for you. We do have G Adventures porters. Of course, they hire local people to do that. So they set up camp, they set out the dining tent. They really have everything. They set up the beds, the cots, like I had nothing to do there. It was great. But here's to give you an insight on what it looked like. So we have all our tents on the left side here. And then on the inside of the tent, this is kind of what it looked like. It had two cots, it had a mattress, it had sleeping bags. So the sleeping bags were also included and they're washed, of course, every time. So you're not reusing anything like that, but really easy. It has a cute little rug in there. So obviously, no air conditioning, it's a tent. And then there was also a separate tent for the toilet and also a separate tent for the shower. And then just more insight on what the campsites look like. So a lot of evenings we had fires. We were sitting around, either just chatting, or you'll see me here reading a book. We're kind of just relaxing a little bit after hiking for so many days. And of course, if the terrain might be a little bit wet, a lot of people dried their shoes at the campfire. So another good reason to have it. And then on the right, you'll see that it is another campsite that we had chosen, and there was a wild cow just kind of walking on through, inspecting us and seeing if we wanted to be friends.
I love it.
The culture is another major thing. I know Dave had touched on it briefly, but it is such a special place. Like again, Bhutan is known for their gross national happiness. They want to make sure that everyone is happy, so they give people a piece of land and they're able to create like their own agriculture and grow their own chilies, for example. But there's a lot of dongs and temples that you can visit along the way, including that giant Buddha, which also was a highlight of mine because I was not expecting it to be that big, and I got there and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is huge.
I
Um,
know. Yeah.
Incredible. But yeah, even the people were so kind and so nice, and they were just happy to have travelers there as well because they're happy to show their culture and that people are interested in their culture as well. So just a few more examples here.
But you're right, nothing is put on with the tourism in Bhutan. It hasn't been impacted like other places, and they keep it that way, which is what's important.
Yeah, exactly. And then another highlight of mine was the Tiger's Nest. So Tiger's Nest is a cliffside monastery that you have to hike to. So again, it's really just kind of a day hike. It is all uphill to get there. There are lots of stairs, but let me tell you, the views are absolutely fantastic. I know when I got up there, it was all cloudy. You couldn't see a single thing, but you stood there for 5 to 10 minutes and the fog would just kind of clear away and have this opening on to the tiger's nest. So I also do have another great video, of course, highlighting my tiger's nest hike.
Take it in, but don't look down.
So hopefully that gives you a bit more insight. The path is very clear. It's not like you're bushwhacking or anything like that. And it is 100% worth it. So the reason Dave and I do not have any pictures of the inside of Tiger's Nest is because it is prohibited. So of course, to really be able to maintain that culture, but even the feeling when you are inside there, like meeting the monks, meeting the boys that are there, like they are so kind and so sweet, and they kind of just like giggle when they see you. So it was also a really big highlight, but again, no picture proof for that. So if you want to see it for yourself or feel it for yourself, you'll just have to book a trip to Bhutan with Dave.
I think so.
And of course, the food highlight. I don't have too many pictures of food in here because it would make me too hungry and it would make me book my trip back to Bhutan tomorrow. But there was always lots of different options, especially when camping. So you had it all set up for you. You had full plates of food. It wasn't just kind of like oatmeal, grab and go. Like they always had lots of different veggie options, lots of local veggie options, which was really cool to try. Always had rice, they had chicken, pork, like they had really a whole array of different food. Never went hungry. And of course, my favorite, which I will drool about forever, is momos. So,
Mm.
Japanese momos are absolutely delicious. And if you don't know what a momo is, it's kind of their take on a traditional dumpling. So really, really delicious. And I probably ate my weight in those alone. Oh, and I forgot to mention the chili cheese. Chili cheese is amazing. You can't even make it at home because it's such a specific cheese, and the way that it melts in with the chilies, and you can put it on rice, you can put it on bread if you want. Usually it is on rice or on meat, and it just really elevates a dish. So thank you for listening to my portion of the presentation. If you have any questions about Bhutan with G Adventures, please reach out to Dave at dw@destinationwhatever.com.
Thank you so much, Hilary, for showing us the athletic side of Bhutan. And I think that's what's really cool about it. Again, you have to go to Bhutan on a tour. You're going to need to do something that's organized. But if you're cultural, or if you're into athletic stuff, or if you're into wildlife, like there's some really cool birding that you can see, all sorts of things that you can do in Bhutan. I think would be a great spot if you are a yoga studio and you want to take your yoga studio to Bhutan. We can help you with that. Could you imagine doing downward dog in some of those locations? Amazing. So. Yeah, for sure. There's also, I would say, no bad time of year to go to Bhutan, people. If you have an opportunity to go, if it fits into your life, do it. Go. I went in the fall. Hilary went in the summer. You can go any time of year. But what I think you're going to be looking at is a trip that's going to be about 10 to 12 days. And again, thinking about your transit time going through one of the spots we talked about, Kathmandu, Bangkok, or Delhi in through India. This has been wonderful. Hilary, was there anything else that you wanted to say about Bhutan before we wrap up today? Any thoughts that didn't fit into the pictures?
Not specifically, but honestly, it is such a feeling when you're there. Like, again, I still find it hard to find the words to describe what it felt like being in Bhutan. So, the best thing that I can say, the best advice I can give you all is book it, go, don't wait too long. You also never know when they're going to change their tourism rules. Maybe they'll make it less people able to go to Bhutan. Maybe they'll decide, hey, you know what, we want to close our borders for a couple of years. So, I would highly suggest going when you can. It is absolutely stunning. You don't have to do crazy hikes like I did. We do have tours or itineraries that are less active that you can still explore. And then, of course, we'll always have the Tiger's Nest. So just make sure you prepare a little bit for that one.
It's a must. I would definitely agree with you. You know, my Tiger's Nest, as you had said, was the beginning of my itinerary, so it all kind of started there. And I remember hiking up there, and I had said to my guide, "This place is really cool. Like, you guys should have some more like bungee jumping or like paragliding or something by this thing." And I remember he looked at me like, "Are you crazy? Like, what planet did you come from?" Because the concept of putting tourism in like that was just so far off the map, and I had just arrived, so I was still kind of really catching up with what it was all about. But by the end of the 10 days, I was definitely able to realize how ridiculous it would have been to put up a water slide at the Tiger's Nest.
It'd be an easier way to get down, that's for sure.
Well, that is good. Yeah, that would be an improvement. I was thinking that that's where my paraglide thoughts kind of went. I wanted to fly through like a dragon through the Himalayan mountains. So, any case. Well, something that's not that ridiculous is that I'm always here to help, and I just want to let some people know that coming up in the autumn, we'll be doing three presentations over the autumn. You can check it out on my website under the online travel talks. Hillary, I'm going to be talking about small group tours on September 18th. So if you're listening and you're curious about small group tours, but you don't know what it's like, how small is small, what are the accommodations like, what are the different styles, just going to unpackage the concept of small group tours. And then in October, I'll do the same thing with cruising. And then in November, the same thing with Africa. Everything, if you wanted to go to Africa, where do you start? What do you even start thinking about with Africa? So rather than a destination, we'll be exploring some concepts. So I just encourage people to keep getting educated and check out the online travel talks on my website. And Hillary, I wanted to end by letting our viewers know that we are finally going to make one of our fantasies come true. We're finally going to take a trip together, and it's a really exciting one. So why don't you have the pleasure? Tell the people what we're going to be doing next month and
Dave
why
and I.
we're doing it.
Oh, exactly. Well, the why is probably the most important part, but I'll give you the destination first. So, Dave and I will be exploring the beautiful Middle Eastern country of Jordan together.
Mm.
So, for myself, it will actually be my third time in Jordan, but I am so excited to see it through Dave's eyes. For him, I believe it's your first time, right, Dave?
I am, and I've been wanting to go see the Dead Sea since it was healthy. It was still alive back then.
Yeah, so it's an amazing, amazing destination. But the reason of why we're going is a little bit bigger than ourselves. So it is the G Adventures GX Community Summit. So it is something that we run every year, but it really focuses on community tourism and what that is. So I know you heard me talking at the beginning about G Adventures supporting local communities, but it's so much more than that. It really is about creating a community of people who all want the same things while traveling, who want to travel to be a force for good and want to be able to really fill that cup. So, with this, it is celebrating community tourism, but also supporting communities as a whole, not just supporting one person in a community, but the entire community itself. We've also have a not-for-profit organization who's part of G Adventures, and that is called Planetera, which helps support women, Indigenous, and youth and communities in different destinations all over the world. So Dave and I will have the wonderful opportunity of visiting a few of them that we we have in Jordan. And honestly, they are life-changing experiences, not just being on tour with us, but being able to see those Planetara projects firsthand and seeing exactly where your money is going.
I'm so excited about it because, in a busy world where a lot of people here, you're scrolling, you're watching television, whatever, and you see so many tour operators coming at you. And I'll tell you, a lot of tour operators, they focus on one thing, and I'm going to tell you what that one thing is. They all want to say, we're number one, we're right, we're the choice that you should make. And I find with G Adventures, it's not about being number one. It's about being better. It's about being better for the planet, the destination, ourselves, our experience. And you can't measure travel by, oh, I'm number one, or if I took the most passengers. It's not about that. It's how we travel. And if you want to travel better, that's what I can help you with. And G Adventures can help you with that. I've been on more G Adventures than I can count, and I'll tell you about that when we meet. But Hilary, I just wanted to thank you so much for that. And for everybody, if you want to see our next chapter, our adventure in Jordan, make sure to follow along here at Destination Whatever. We are going to have 1,001 selfies from over there. Wonderful. Well, everybody, thank you once again for being here today. Thank you again, Hilary. And until the next time we cross paths, take care, everybody. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. This has been a Destination Whatever travel production. Subscribe for all my content. Facebook at Destination Whatever, Instagram at destinationwhatever.travel, and YouTube at Destination Whatever. Or head on over to my website, destinationwhatever.com. I'm your #1 travel expert, helping travelers nationwide explore the world. So get in touch and let's make your travel fantasies come true.